I'm pregnant with your husband's child. I was speechless at my sister's sudden confession. So, I want a divorce. I'm going to remarry your husband, she declared. I'm sorry I stole your husband, a doctor earning $10,000 a month, she continued. Next to my sister, my husband was looking down at me with a serious face, and her hand was tightly holding his. I was so shocked that I couldn't speak. What's with that face? As usual, you're ugly. That's why your husband had a change of heart. From now on, you're going to live on your meager salary, my sister said with a loud laugh, making my heart feel cold. I'm the one who wants to say sorry, I thought, as they probably didn't know. I was laughing in my heart without telling them about my sister's terrible misunderstanding. My name is Jessica. I've been married to Brandon for 3 years. I met my husband at a university tennis club. Tennis was my only stress relief in my suffocating university life, which was full of studying. Since the club was a cheerful activity, I often sacrificed my study time to play. You have a nice form, he said. My husband, who was in a different faculty and didn't seem busy studying, always approached me when I visited the club. I played tennis until high school. I quit playing seriously because of an injury, but you're good at it. It's completely different from me, who is just playing for fun, he said. I can teach you. I think we're a great match, he added. I believed his words, which seemed like typical pickup lines from the bottom of my heart. In fact, I had never dated a man before and had hardly even had a proper conversation because I was always studying. I was completely taken in by my husband's positive attitude. I had no idea of the hard times awaiting me 5 years later. After graduating from university, we got married. Although it would be a lie to say we had no fights or breakups during our school years, I always forgave my husband's sloppy behavior, and our relationship dragged on until graduation. I'm sure I'll become a good husband, he said. How much I believed in his proposal, I wonder now, but at that time, I still trusted my husband. There were feelings from our 5-year-old relationship that lingered. He wasn't a bad person at heart, and I accepted his proposal with a rather light feeling. We both started working. I had a strong desire to work, and my husband didn't oppose me going out. Rather, he encouraged me to pursue my career. With the income of 2 people, we had a substantial household income. Having this much economic freedom at a young age, we were blessed. We didn't have children because it was still early in our careers. We focused on setting up our lives first. I was climbing up the career ladder smoothly and having fulfilling days. One day, I inadvertently picked up my husband's smartphone that he had left in the living room. There was a message from an unknown name. Normally, I tried not to pry into his privacy, but my husband had a history of passive cheating. Back in our student days, he was secretly communicating with a girl from another club. I entered my husband's birthday and easily unlocked his smartphone. I opened the messaging app and was shocked. As I feared, there were flirty exchanges with a particular woman recorded. I immediately confronted my husband. His confused state was like a monkey in the zoo. It's not like that. This was just a lapse in judgment, he said. So, you admit cheating? You had a relationship with this woman? I asked. Well, he stammered. Let's make love at our usual hotel. Kisses. You're not young to send such a message. I read aloud. She is a high school graduate and a newcomer, I added. Summing up my husband's story, he basically cheated with a new female employee. My husband was her trainer. It's a common story, but I wondered what kind of education he was giving her. I'm really sorry. I swear I won't make such a mistake again, he pleaded. In the end, I forgave my groveling husband. This had been happening since our university days. I couldn't help but sigh at my husband's sloppy attitude. Unlike our student days, we had too many obligations. If we were to divorce, we'd have to report it to our families, friends, and co-workers, which would disappoint them. Honestly, it was easier to give my husband another chance than to deal with such troublesome things. I made him write an apology letter. If he made the same mistake again, he wouldn't get away with it. That was the promise. And so our married life continued, barely surviving several storms. One day, I received a call from my mother with the news of my father's death. According to her, he had collapsed on the way home from drinking and was taken to the hospital. It appeared to be a stroke. His discovery was late and it was the middle of winter, so he unfortunately never came back to life. He was 60 years old, just before retirement. I took care of all the funeral arrangements. My mother cried all the time and wasn't in any condition to manage. With the support of relatives and a hollowed-out mother, I barely managed to complete the funeral proceedings. I felt sorry for the inconvenience to my workplace, but my colleagues and superiors never complained. I'll never forget their support. One issue was dealing with my sister. I have a sister 2 years older than me, named Anna. After graduating from high school, she left our parents' home, so I hadn't seen her for nearly 10 years. Her circumstances were problematic. My sister had always been a troublemaker, causing trouble for our parents. She had been involved with the police more than once or twice. Her relationships with men were particularly unrestrained, and she had been involved with multiple adult men since junior high school, some of whom were married. Because of her behavior, my parents scolded her all the time. Live a decent life. Don't ruin your own life, they would advise, but it didn't resonate with her at all. Finally, it was discovered that she had secretly given money from our house to a male host, which led to a huge fight with both of our parents, especially our father. "Get out," my father declared, disowning her. It was not surprising that he excluded her from his inheritance. "I don't even think of you as my daughter anymore," my father declared. In response, my sister retorted and stormed out of the house. "Who would want to come back to such a poor and gloomy place?" she shouted as she left. True to her words, my sister never showed her face again until our father passed away. Even though I had to inform her of our father's death, my mom said, "There's no need for that." But I couldn't ignore my sister. Her cell phone number was still the same, so I sent her a short message informing her of our father's passing. There was no contact from my sister until just before the funeral. If she doesn't come, it's fine then, I thought. Just when I was beginning to believe she wouldn't show up, my sister finally arrived at the post-cremation meal. Her face, with makeup 3 times thicker than before, was a stark contrast to her appearance 10 years ago. "Huh, so you got married without updating our late father," she remarked, noticing that I had brought my husband. My husband, who had managed to attend the ceremony during a break from work, had been timid and meek until my sister showed up. He was not the type of person to handle ceremonial situations briskly. "Your husband isn't bad looking. Did you meet him at work?" my sister inquired. "We met through a club in college. Our workplaces are completely different," I replied. "Huh, you cooked a good one. You were always studying, right? Well, if you got a man with a decent education, that's good. You don't seem to be struggling with money. Since one of us is a doctor, the salary is decent. We both work, but more importantly, you should properly greet our father," I said, trying to steer the conversation back to the matter at hand. "A doctor?" My sister's eyes seemed to plot something, and she may have even licked her lips. My husband, subjected to her snake-like gaze, was simply flustered. We disbanded that day, and my sister, who said she would contact me soon, never did. She didn't contribute any condolence money, and I had no intention of following up on my mother's lament. Things started to get strange about 6 months later. Although the sadness of losing my father had not yet healed, I had almost completely forgotten about the days of the funeral and my sister. But it seemed my sister remembered well about my husband Brandon. After work, I saw a familiar figure near the station. The navy suit was the one I had just cleaned for him yesterday. What surprised me was the sight of the woman next to him. They were holding hands, looking friendly. Again, my husband's bad habits. As the flames of anger flared up, I realized my husband's crime was not just that. This time, I was more taken aback than angry. Next to my husband, flaunting her mini skirt, was my sister Anna, holding his hand. My husband was cheating with my own sister. I blurted it out involuntarily, then decided to follow them. If this is truly an affair, I will not forgive my husband this time. I've been tormented by my husband's womanizing many times, but if it's with my own sister, it's beyond a joke. Moreover, the occasion where they met face to face was at my dad's funeral. I'll definitely catch them in the act. I grit my teeth and focus on not losing sight of them. As expected, they headed towards the hotel district. It was still daytime. My husband was supposed to be at work. I wondered what kind of excuse he used to leave the office. They walked past numerous hotels, glued even closer together. At one of the hotels where they finally stopped, they started kissing. Disgusting. This was the first time I had witnessed my husband's infidelity. Then they went into the hotel in front of them. I called my husband's smartphone after letting the two of them off the hook for a while, holding back my nausea. After an irritating wait, my husband finally picked up the phone. "What is it?" "I'm working. There's something I really need to check with you." "Who are you with right now?" "Who?" "You know, of course, I'm with my colleagues and boss." We have an important meeting coming up. Oh, so you have important meetings at the Love Hotel Jewelry Resort? Quite a flippant name, isn't it? How do you? I also know that my sister is with you. You're the one who needs to explain. Just wait there with my sister. After I had my ace up my sleeve, Brendan's voice seemed muffled and raspy. Finally, after checking with my sister, he informed me of the room number. All right, I said, bracing myself and storming into the hotel. I explained the situation to the receptionist and paid for another room. After all the humiliation he has put me through, I won't show any mercy to my husband. When I opened the door to room 402, my husband was waiting there with a pale face. He was already dressed in a gown, having taken off his suit. My sister wore the same gown and had a mocking expression on her face. The pitiful wife showed up. She started, smoking and showing no sign of remorse. On the contrary, she seemed to be enjoying the situation just like half a year ago. Her makeup was heavily plastered like paint. First, I confronted my sister, who was making a creepy face. Anna, what are you thinking? You knew he's my husband and you laid your hands on him, didn't you? Well, it's frustrating. After being kicked out of the house, I've had a really hard time. I was even abandoned by the host I was sponsoring. I didn't have a single thing going well for me. Despite all that, you live a happy married life. You left home because of your selfishness, right? You troubled your parents till the end. And now you will try to ruin my family too. The chaos had been there from the start. I heard from Brandon how pitiful it is because you always say harsh things. He doesn't even have a moment of peace at home. That's why I've been comforting him. Don't say whatever you want. This is a problem within our family. So you're just not satisfying your husband, are you? A boring woman like you. I'm different in that respect. I'm satisfying him. That's why we've been going out for half a year now. You're lying. It's been since right after my father's funeral. Understand me, Jessica. I was at my limit too. You were always nagging me, and there was hardly any marital affection. We haven't even been intimate for over a year now, Brandon said, exposing our marital issues in front of my sister. Embarrassed to the point of tears, I shot back, the reason we couldn't stay as a couple was because of your womanizing. Have you forgotten your promise that you would never cheat again? And on top of that, how come it's with my sister? Besides, right after my father's funeral. Hey, stop belittling Brandon. He's not yours anymore, right, Brandon? My sister interjected, whispering something to him. He lifted his head, which had been lowered, and turned to me with determination. Now I was the one taken aback. Jessica, please divorce me. We're having a baby. What? You heard it. I'm pregnant now. Of course, the father is Brandon. We've been making love almost every week since then, and this belly is the fruit of that, my sister said, lovingly stroking her belly. I was left speechless. This was no accident but a deliberate act. From the start, my sister intended to steal my husband, and my husband also intended to end our marriage. That's why they didn't use contraception. They went out of their way to show me the baby in her belly. Too bad. You don't stand a chance. He's mine now. He's leaving you and marrying me, right, Brandon? Yeah, let's be happy together. No, the three of us with our baby. I will do my best. You've been dumped. Truly, my condolences. There goes your elegant lifestyle. From now on, that will be mine. My sister laughed. After her laughter echoed, I left the hotel room. To be honest, I don't remember how I made it home. I vomited 3 times in the toilet. As I rushed up my stomach acid, I couldn't stop crying. I was more upset about being betrayed than about losing my husband. My husband and sister trampled on my humanity. Moreover, they made use of the baby. I cried all night and greeted the morning with a drained body. From that day on, my husband did not come home. There was no doubt that he had moved in with my sister. Soon, he would probably come to pack up his things and bring divorce papers, along with the wedding ring we chose together 5 years ago. It was the worst day of my life. Nevertheless, I couldn't afford to take a day off from work. There were people who depended on me. Above all, now only my work was my anchor. Holding back nausea and tears, I gritted my teeth and headed to the workplace. A week later, while I was working as usual, my husband and sister showed up in front of me. I wasn't very surprised, but the two of them seemed quite shocked. My sister, sitting in a chair for patients and holding her belly, stared at me in astonishment as I stood there in my white coat. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Because this is the obstetrics and gynecology department, and I am on duty today." The doctor who usually examines you is off due to some circumstances. You were a doctor? But why? Brandon was supposed to be the doctor, my sister said, looking puzzled as she glanced between my husband and me. I found it funny and explained, "You must have misunderstood, sister. I am the one who is a doctor. I worked hard to get into medical school." But at the funeral, Brandon said he was a doctor. "You got yourself a highly educated husband," she replied. "I only said that if one person is a doctor, the salary will be decent. You misunderstood that." But Brandon said he was a doctor, she insisted. As my sister's gaze pierced him, my husband, who seemed to have come along as an escort, turned pale and began to stammer clumsy excuses like a fish washed up on the beach. "No, I was actually thinking of talking to you seriously, but then you mentioned getting pregnant. So you lied about being a doctor just to impress my sister and sleep with her. How pathetic. You're a low-paid salesman," I said. "Well, that's..." "What do you mean, low-paid? What about $1 million a month? We've already started looking at luxury apartments and even contacted a car dealer to get a car. I've already maxed out my credit card on designer bags and shoes," my sister interjected. "Why would you waste money like that? And why is Jessica even at this hospital? She's supposed to be working at a different hospital." "That's why I brought her here," my husband said, bewildered. "When I took time off for my father's funeral, the doctor from this hospital helped me out multiple times. Now she has a situation, so I'm returning the favor. I've been working hard even while you two were cheating on me," I explained. "Jessica, listen, this is the end of us. I'm fed up with you. Go ahead and divorce or remarry, but make sure to pay me alimony," I demanded. "Wait, Jessica. I was wrong. I'll change my ways this time. Let's forget about the divorce for now," my husband pleaded. "What are you saying? Remember when you cheated with that girl from your office? You promised me that if it happened again, you pay whatever amount of alimony I demanded," I reminded him, showing the written pledge I had taken a picture with my smartphone, complete with his signature and thumbprint. My husband let out a silent scream. "At least 5 million yen. No, considering it was right after my father's funeral, I could even add a bit more. I'll contact a good lawyer. You two can wait and tremble," I said firmly. "Wait, does that mean I have to pay alimony too? Are you going to demand it from me?" my sister asked, panicking. "Of course, that's what it means to steal your sister's husband. Don't worry, I'll give you a grace period until the baby is born. That's my moral obligation as an obstetrician. But make sure you pay up after the baby is born. I'll have you give up all your designer bags and shoes, and I'll add the funeral offering for my father. You'll apologize on your knees in front of his grave," I declared. I glared at my sister and walked away to start the regular examination. As soon as I instructed her to get on the bed, my sister fled the examination room, perhaps afraid of me wearing rubber gloves. My husband, who remained, seemed to want to say something, but he meekly retreated under the cold stares of the nurses. Thinking that I wouldn't have to see his face anymore, I felt truly liberated. Another half a year later, it seems my sister had a baby safely at a different obstetrics and gynecology clinic. Regardless of what my sister had done, the newborn baby was innocent. Knowing it was a healthy baby girl, I felt relieved deep down. But as for my sister herself, it's a different story. I don't feel a shred of pity for her. As I declared after the baby was born, I sent my sister a letter demanding alimony. The total was 5.3 million yen. Of course, 300,000 yen was for the condolence money for my father's funeral. I planned to deliver it to my mother. As for my husband, no, my ex-husband, life seems to be quite tough with the alimony he owes me. His workplace, due to the rumors of his affair, had no choice but to let him resign. It seems difficult for him to get rehired as a full-time employee. I heard he's juggling temp jobs now. As for who spread the rumors of the affair at his former workplace, I think it's best left unsaid. Furthermore, through the grapevine, I heard he hasn't gotten over his womanizing ways. He seems to be injuring my sister by hitting on any woman close at hand. At this rate, they seem like a suitable couple, and I feel truly refreshed being able to break up with my ex-husband. Now I'm dedicating myself to my work as an obstetrician. Today, 2 mothers to be with big bellies are waiting for my help.